This is Wrestling Talk Unleashed, the #1 wrestling podcast for hardcore fans. We debate everything wrestling from WWE.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Wrestling Talk Unleashed. Now, before I begin today's podcast, I just want to apologize again for my hiatus. I apologized last week on the Real Deal Sports podcast, but I thought I'd apologize again. As I said last week, I had a few things going on, had to take care of them, but I'm back and hopefully to be recording on a more regular basis. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's episode of Wrestling Talk Unleashed. I'll be skimming through this week's episode of Raw and Smackdown, and if we've got enough time I should say, I'll give you my predictions for Extreme Rules, which is coming up on this Monday. So let's get started with Raw. This week's episode of Raw begins with Miz and Maurice hosting Miz TV. Miz welcomes out his two guests, Sheamus and Cesaro, and then proclaims that the trio are the hardest working superstars in the WWE, which is, I don't agree with that, but anyway, that's his opinion. Miz went on to say how Dean Ambrose has dragged the Intercontinental Championship through the garbage, and when he reclaims and wins back the Intercontinental Championship, he will start its comeback tour. Ambrose had heard enough of this garbage talk from Miz, so he interrupted, followed by the Hardy Boys as the faces made a beeline for the ring. Which obviously, if you've been watching wrestling, you know this led to an inevitable 6-man tag match. This wasn't a great opening segment, if I can say. It wasn't great, wasn't horrible. It served its purpose. I'm just over these two particular feuds. I'm overseeing Miz versus Dean Ambrose, and I'm overseeing the Hardys versus Sheamus and Cesaro. I don't want to see anything of these two feuds anymore. The sooner these two feuds are over, the better for everyone. Let's have a look at the match now. The trio of Miz, Sheamus and Cesaro began targeting Matt Hardy, isolating him from his tag team partners, and just beating him down, quite frankly, not allowing Hardy to make the tag. Matt was finally able to make the tag to Ambrose, and he turns the momentum in his team's favour. The heels start to perform double team moves on Ambrose, but he's unable to pin him. More back and forth between the two teams as the match begins to break down. Ambrose landed a dirty deeds on Cesaro, I should say, before taking out Sheamus with a suicide dive. Matt Hardy would go on to hit a twist of fate on The Miz, followed up by a swanton bomb from Jeff Hardy, who pinned The Miz for the win. This wasn't a great match. I wasn't expecting it to be a great match, but I was proven right. But the opening segment didn't help it. I thought the Hardys could have taken the loss here, considering they haven't lost since returning at WrestleMania. It wouldn't make them look weak going into the pay-per-view. If anything, it would have solidified the fact that they were going to win their match at Extreme Rules. But now, I don't know. I thought they could have taken a loss. They're beating Sheamus and Cesaro week after week. A loss here for the Hardys wouldn't have hurt, I thought. After the match, the camera cut over to the commentary table, where Corey Graves is shown mysteriously reading a message on his phone. He then insists on leaving the commentary table, heading backstage. We go to a commercial break. As we come back, Corey is showing his phone to Kurt Angle, who is reading the message out loud, calling him a disgrace and an embarrassment to the WWE, and this could ruin his Olympic medal status. Graves goes on to say he believes in Kurt and the job he's doing, and he can help in any way. Now, against other things I've read and heard, I really enjoyed this segment. I enjoyed the whole thing. It sucked me in and it's got me invested. I like the fact that Graves has some part in the storyline, considering he was meant to be the next big thing down in NXT before he got concussions and was forced to retire due to injury. Yeah, so it gives him something to do instead of just being an announcer. What's this information that he's got? Who sent it to Graves? What were the repercussions hold? I don't know. I just found it interesting. I haven't seen something like this for a while. And we'll have to wait and see. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Moving on to the next match now. We have Elias Sampson versus a jobber called Zach Evans. I'm not much to talk about here or get into. It was a simple squash match, really. Samson showed a bit of what he can do in the ring. He connected with a rolling cutter and picks up the pinfall victory. That's all I took out of it, really. Again, not much to talk about, just a standard squash match for Samson. What I will give him props for is when he's singing and playing guitar in the ring, how he doesn't get distracted and thrown off by everyone booing the absolute hell out of him and he keeps his concentration. I'll never know. I thought that would take a lot of harder. That takes a lot of effort. I would have been thrown off as I stumbled through that sentence. But yeah, not a lot to talk about from his match here with Zach Evans. Nothing really. Moving on to one of the main events that was advertised for this week. We have Finn Balor vs Samoa Joe and Bray Wyatt. This was a good lengthy match with good energy, good pace. The crowd digged it, I digged it. For the majority of the match, we had Joe and Wyatt teaming up on Balor, double teaming him, stomping him, beating the shit out of him, until eventually Wyatt would end up turning on Joe. As we all know, that's Wyatt can't be trusted. Balor would finally get going in the match and get his offense going and turn the momentum in his favour. Towards the end of the match, Joe was distracted by Wyatt's mind games and ran straight into his sister Abigail. Balor would then hit Wyatt with a sling blade and then followed up with a coup de grace on Wyatt. However, Joe would sneak back in the ring, throw Balor out of the ring and score the pinfall victory. My thoughts on this match? It was good. A good triple threat match. Everyone worked hard. Had good pace, good energy. Surprised that Samoa Joe picked up the victory here though, but I guess that rules him out of winning the Fatal 5-Way on Sunday. But yeah, good match. Despite from nothing really being on the line, it was just apart from momentum, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. From a good match over to a shit match. We have Rich Swann vs Noam Dar. Swann had Sasha Banks in his corner and Noam Dar had Alicia Fox in his corner. Why they're there, I have no idea, don't ask me. Dar attacked Swann before the bell even rang and immediately began working on his left arm. However, Swann starts to make a comeback. Some more back and forth between the two cruiserweights. Alicia Fox tries to intervene in the match, but is prevented by Sasha Banks. Swann hits the Phoenix Splash to gain the victory. That's all I've got written for that match. Because I didn't care. Has Sasha Banks fallen from a 3-time women's champion main eventing pay-per-views, main eventing Raws, to being involved in a cruiserweight storyline? WWE obviously thinks they can throw her into anything and it's gonna work. But it doesn't work like that. Even with the crowd, Sasha's lost her steam and her character isn't over with the fans anymore. Because she's putting crap like this. No one cares if she's is involved with cruiserweights. They want to see her going after the title, challenging Alexa Bliss. But no, we get this shit jammed down our throats and the fans don't care. And neither do I. Backstage, Charlie Caruso is interviewing The Revival. Good to see them back on TV. They've been gone for a while with Dash Wilder having his broken jaw. Good to see The Revival back. Caruso shows Dash and Dawson the footage of them at Raw last week and questions if they were the ones who attacked Enzo Amore. Dawson claims that they were here last week taking care of top guy business and that they wouldn't waste their time with Enzo because he's a bottom feeder. We go from there, cross back to the announcers table. Corey Graves insinuates that Big Cass has also seen the footage of The Revival leaving, but doesn't elaborate any further. All of a sudden, Big Cass comes out to confront Graves about his accusation, thinking that he's accusing Big Cass of attacking Enzo. Graves talks his way out of the situation, and Cass leaves, forcefully shaking Graves' hand. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed this whole segment. The mystery. I like the mystery. We don't get that anymore. Even though week by week it's becoming blatantly obvious that the attacker is Big Cass. But again, there's a little shroud of mystery, a little shroud of doubt. I like that. I think it's good. I think it's Big Cass. But it could be another team. Could it be Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil taking out the competition, making their mark? Could it be The Revival saying, "Don't forget us, we're here, we'll take out our competition." But my thought is that it is Big Cass, similar to the Triple H Shawn Michaels storyline of 2002, if you remember that. I think they're going a bit down that path, but yeah, I like the mystery and I'm intrigued in this storyline. On to the next match, we have Kalisto vs Titus O'Neil. To begin the match, O'Neil starts to use his size and strength advantage immediately. However, Kalisto uses his speed and agility to avoid O'Neil. Kalisto connects with a head scissors DDT and looks to put O'Neil away. However, O'Neil counters, sits down on Kalisto, pulls the tights for the pinfall victory. Well, that was a waste of time. A filler match. Simply put, trash. Never want to see something like that again. Kalisto sucks, can't wrestle, botchamania everywhere. There's a shout out. Yeah, no more. I'm interested in the Titus brand though. If he can build a little group, a heel group, him, Apollo, someone else, that might be interesting. But apart from that, not interested. Moving on to the worst segment on Raw that I've seen for years. It's time for Bayley, This Is Your Life. Alexa Bliss welcomed guests from Bayley's past, including her 4th grade teacher, her former best friend, and her ex-boyfriend. Each guest exposed Bayley's lack of extreme traits throughout her life, even having Bayley's ex-best friend and boyfriend make out in the ring, which is weird. Ex-boyfriend saying she almost kissed Bayley's dad. I don't get that. That was weird. Why would you almost kiss her dad? Bayley ran into the ring to attack Bliss. However, Bliss pulled out a kendo stick that she hid from under the table, blasted Bayley with another vicious shot before standing tall. I didn't really want to go in depth to this segment because, quite frankly, it was absolute trash and I didn't want to waste your time. No, but it was trash. The worst segment I've seen on Raw for a long time. Bliss tried hard to work through it. You could see the crowd threw her off a little bit, but she's a great talker and she tried to walk through it, but not even she could salvage this segment. It doesn't help that Bayley isn't a serious threat and she is basically a little child, but please, no more segments like this. No more This Is Your Life segments, because they absolutely suck. Backstage, where Enzo Amore has been attacked again. The EMTs are tending to him when Big Cass runs up to Kurt saying, "It was the Revival. It has to be the Revival." But Kurt says he saw them leave the building hours ago. Big Cass insists that it must have been them. Angle tells Cass to go somewhere and calm down, but Big Cass says, "I'm not leaving Enzo's side." Again, I like it. I don't think they needed 2 segments on it. Have the attack, but don't have Big Cass come up again, because it's just making it too obvious. But yeah, I like it. Just don't overdo it if you're not really ready to expose Big Cass as the attacker. But as I said earlier, it could be the Revival, or it could be Titus and Apollo Crews. But I think we all know it's going to be Big Cass. Just don't overdo it, which they almost did this week. But yeah, it's keeping me intrigued. On to the next match, we have Austin Aries and Jack Gallagher versus Neville and TJP. I'm not going to go into this match very in depth because, quite frankly, I'm tired of seeing it. I'm sure you guys are too. In my opinion, it comes down to you need to change it, make something new and fresh to get the fans invested, or scraps the cruiserweight because no one cares. It's not moving forward. Nothing's progressing. It's time to cut it and pull everyone out of their misery. All I can say is about the match is Aries made Neville tap out to the last chancery. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on to the main event of Monday Night Raw, we have Roman Reigns vs Seth Rollins. In a decent match between the former 2 Shield brothers, both competitors left everything in the ring and threw everything at each other. Both superstars kicked out of a series of near falls, including Rollins getting a 2 count after a blockbuster and a 5-star frog splash, which I thought is a bit unrealistic, but I don't know why WWE insists on having Roman kick out of so much offense and so much high pack damage. He's not Superman. He could have taken a clean loss here and it wouldn't damage his character. He doesn't need to look like Superman every match, however. Towards the end of the match, Rollins missed a Phoenix Splash from the top rope, leading Reigns to hit the spear and pick up the victory heading into Extreme Rules. This was a decent match. Both guys have good chemistry in the ring. They obviously know each other very well. It was good to see both big advertised matches have clean finishes, not screwy finishes. They were clean. 1, 2, 3. It was good to see that. But since Rollins took the loss here, going by WWE logic, he should be winning the Fatal 5-Way at Extreme Rules, yeah? I guess we'll have to see, but yeah, good match to end this week's Raw. Over to Smackdown Live now. Smackdown opens with another episode of the Kevin Owens highlight reel. Owens says that he's already the face of America, and when he wins Money in the Bank, he will become the face of the entire WWE. As an Owens fan, I'd like to see that. Owens then welcomes out his guest Shinsuke Nakamura. Owens begins to trash talk Nakamura and Chris Jericho. Before Nakamura has time to respond, Baron Corbin interrupts. Way to ruin the segment. Corbin shows highlights of him beating up Sami Zayn last week. More trash talk between the three, nothing of real significance. The two heels begin to beat up Nakamura before Sami Zayn runs down to make the save. I have read a lot that people like this opener. I don't understand why. Let's have a look at the 4 people involved. Baron Corbin, can't talk. Sami Zayn, can't talk. Nakamura, works hard on his promos, isn't really there yet. That leaves Kevin Owens to carry the segment as he's the only one who can talk. He can't carry 3 people through a segment. Garbage is my word to use. Moving on to their tag team match, we have Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin. Zayn was eager to get his hands on Corbin, but it was Kevin Owens who started the match for his team. The two heels worked at a methodic pace, beating on Sami Zayn in their corner, preventing him from making the tag. Corbin became visually frustrated with the fact that the two couldn't put Zayn away, as he's the underdog from the underground and won't stay down. Zayn was finally able to make the hot tag to Nakamura, who began to add some pace into the matchup, which was desperately needed. He turned the momentum in his team's favour. The team of Owens and Corbin began to break down, arguing. Sami Zayn pushed Corbin into Owens or Owens into Corbin. One of them, I can't remember what happened there. Nakamura hit Owens with the Kinshasa, I think that's how I say it, to get the pinfall victory. It was an okay match. Opening tag team match, it was okay. Nothing really special happened though. Nakamura pinned Owen. I think that's his second week in a row pinning Owens. That could lead to a feud for the US title match. I don't know why they're pushing Nakamura towards the US title, but that could be what they're planning for Owens and Nakamura. The Usos are now in the ring. They are gloating about still being the tag team champions as they run down a list of teams that they have beaten. And then, to everyone's excitement and delight, The New Day returns and makes their Smackdown Live debut. Big E claims they want the Smackdown Tag Team Championships, and Xavier Woods said that Commissioner Shane McMahon has named some new number 1 contenders, and at Money in the Bank, they will become the new Smackdown Live Tag Team Champions. It's good to see the New Day back. It was good to see them make their first Smackdown appearance. However, I would have rather them to see him turn heels. That's what I would have it become a more serious, dominating tag team. Put an end to this unicorn and Booty-O stuff. But either way, I see him beating the Usos at Money in the Bank, and it's good to see the New Day back. On to the fatal 5-way match for the number 1 contendership to Naomi's SmackDown Women's Championship. We have Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch versus Natalya versus Carmella versus Tamina Snuka. Yeah, that's the SmackDown Women's Division for you. Before the match could even officially begin, all women broke out into a brawl. Tamina began to take apart the announcer's table, but was unable to use it as Charlotte threw her into the ring post. Charlotte would then go on to take out Tamina and Natalya via a moonsault off the top rope outside the ring. During all the carnage and chaos, Shane McMahon makes his way down to the ring, and he says he's thrilled to see all women so competitive and leaving it out there for the fans. That's what he called it. Shane announced that all women will fight again and have a fantastic opportunity, as all 5 women will compete in the first ever Women's Money in the Bank. To the crowd's delight, they all popped. They loved it. From what I've seen, everyone on the internet loves it. I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't intrigued by the Women's Money in the Bank. The only concern I have is there's not really the talent to put on a good match. I mean, Charlotte's there, she could do it. Becky could do it. But I don't know about Carmella, Natalya, or Tamina. I don't know if they're capable of putting on that type of match, a good match. I've listened to other podcasts and they made a good point. Why not make it an inter-brand match? Throw some of the Raw women in there. I reckon that could work, but that's not going to happen. So I don't know what type of match it's going to be, but it's intriguing. First ever, making history in the women's revolution. But yeah, not too sold on this match. On to the next match for Smackdown Live. We have Breezango versus the Colognes. Both Fandango and Tyler Breeze wore interesting costumes to begin their match. Breeze was in trouble early and had his costume ripped off by Primo. Fandango was then tagged into the match and swung the momentum in his team's favour. After some shenanigans during the match, including Breeze dressing up as a janitor once again, Fandango using a water gun. Despite all that, Breeze hit an unprettier for the pinfall victory. Breezango are trying hard. They're trying really hard to get over with the fans. And look, to a percentage of the fans, they're over. They love this sort of stuff. The problem I have with this is, when is this comedy act going to run out of steam? And then what's going to happen to them? They're going to go back to being jobbers. They're going to fall off a cliff. I'm sorry, they are. Once this runs out and the fans are over it, they're going to fall off a cliff, which is a shame. I just think both guys are really talented in the ring and they deserve a hell of a lot better than what they're being served. But they could have been a good tag team. They've turned them into a comedy act. That's what WWE does. They ruined people that they don't want to use. But anyway, moving on, we've got Randy Orton. He comes out to the ring to address his loss to Jinder Mahal at Backlash. Orton talks about how long his family has been in the wrestling industry and talks about their credentials and achievements. Orton went on to say that his grandfather would smack the hell out of him for losing to a guy like Jinder. Orton said that Mahal certainly hasn't earned his respect, and he will beat the hell out of him at Money in the Bank. Mahal then appears on the Titantron. He spewed his same old crap about being hated by the American people because he looks different and talks different. He would then go on to say that Orton is just like all Americans who are living off their former greatness. Not gonna lie, I don't care. I don't care about the main title on SmackDown at the moment, and that's a damn shame, but I don't care. It seems to me Randy doesn't care anymore. He's just going through the motions, again, which is a shame because he has the ability to be one of the greatest all time in the modern era. But he's phoning it in. He's going through the motions. He looks disinterested in this feud. Jinder hasn't really done anything to prove that he's a believable or heel champion. His promos are all the same. They've put the championship on him for a reason. But boy, oh boy, does he ever need to step up and fill this role as a heel champion that can dominate SmackDown and carry him for the future. But not interested in this feud. Sooner or later it's going to be over. Then I don't know where they go. No, I'm really obvious for Jinder to feud with. But yeah, not interested. Moving on to the main event for SmackDown this week, we've got AJ Styles vs Dolph Ziggler. Should be a good match. Ziggler got the early jump on Styles, gaining the early momentum. However, Styles would get his high-octane offense going, which sent Ziggler reeling. An arid collision with the ring post would swing the momentum back in Ziggler's favor, and he pounced on a wounded Styles. A back and forth match unfolded as both men countered their opponent's signature moves. Towards the end of the match, AJ would get tangled up in the ropes as Ziggler countered AJ's attempt at the phenomenal forearm. Ziggler connected with a super kick, and pinned AJ to get the victory. A pretty good match. Pretty good main event match between Styles and Ziggler, but yet again, you shouldn't expect anything less. Both men are exceptional talents in the ring. I have to say that I'm surprised they gave Ziggler the clean victory over Styles. I mean, giving Ziggler the victory was the good move to make him look like a serious threat heading into Money in the Bank. But I thought there could have been some heel tactics or something. Not a clean victory over AJ, but a good match to end Smackdown. Now, I'll give my predictions for the upcoming pay-per-view Extreme Rules, which takes place on Monday. I'll try and get through these as quick as I can. First match, we have Rich Swann and Sasha Banks versus Noam Dar and Alicia Fox. As I said before, it's kind of sad that the Cruiserweight division is struggling so bad that they need to add Sasha Banks into their storylines. This is one of those matches where, honestly, I don't care who wins or loses. Couldn't give a stuff. I'm just going to say Sasha Banks and Rich Swann win this match for no other reason to have them dance after the match and get a pop from the crowd. That's it. That's what I'm basing my prediction on. I'll say Sasha makes Alicia tap out to the Banks statement. You win a Rich Swann as Sasha Banks versus via submission. Moving on to the Intercontinental Championship match, we have Dean Ambrose versus The Miz, where in this match, if Dean Ambrose loses via disqualification, he will lose the Intercontinental Championship. No matter the outcome of this match, I really hope this is the end of their rivalry. It was moved over from SmackDown to Raw in the Superstar Shake-Up. It's played out, it's run its course, the fans are bored of it, I'm bored of it. Move on, find something else for them to do. Pretty obvious that The Miz and Maurice will desperately try and get Ambrose disqualified here for the entire match. I would like to see Ambrose keep the Intercontinental Championship, but I don't see it happening. I have a feeling that Elias Sampson will get involved, setting up a feud between Sampson and Ambrose. That something like that could happen. I've got The Miz winning the Intercontinental Championship, and I've got it via pinfall, not disqualification, but via pinfall. Moving on to the Steel Cage Tag Team match for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. We've got the Hardys versus Cesaro and Sheamus. This is another feud that I really hope ends after this pay-per-view. These two teams have been going at it since the Hardy Boys returned over 2 months ago. They returned at WrestleMania in April. The Hardys have beating Sheamus and Cesaro for several weeks. They've defeated them in tag team matches and singles matches. So, going by traditional WWE booking, Sheamus and Cesaro will win at the pay-per-view. Logically, they have to win. Otherwise, you can consider them buried, and you might as well split them apart again. So, I'll say if they don't win at Monday at Extreme Rules, split them apart, because they've got nothing to do as a tag team. On the other hand, I would like to see the Hardys hold the tag team championships and lose them to the Revival at SummerSlam. But I'm going to say Sheamus and Cesaro win here, and maybe they lose it back to the Hardys sometime before SummerSlam. So I've got them winning the Raw Tag Team Championships here, but I've got them escaping the cage. I don't think they'll make the Hardys take a pinfall or submission loss. I'll have them escaping the cage. And yes, Sheamus and Cesaro for the Raw Tag Team Champions. Moving on to the WWE Cruiserweight Championship match, which is a submission match. Neville versus Austin Aries. Again, this feud has been going on way too long. It's been going on since WrestleMania, and I'm pretty sure Neville has always gotten the upper hand on Aries. This has to be Aries' time to win. It just has to be. I think this is his third chance going after the Cruiserweight Championship. Don't get me wrong, Neville has been a great heel champion, and he's carried the division on his back. Literally, carried them. But you can't have Austin Aries lose a third championship match. It just can't happen. If you have him lose, you may as well get rid of him, because there won't be any value left in his character, and he'll be just filling the numbers. So if Austin Aries loses here, forget him, cut him. Send him back to TNA or Ring of Honor, because you won't have any use for him. I have Austin Aries becoming the new Cruiserweight Championship, obviously via submission, making Neville tap out to the Last Chancery. On to the joke match of the night. The kendo stick on a pole match for the Raw Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss defending against Bayley. Is this 2004? I don't think so, but the last time I've seen a kendo stick on a pole match was in 2004. The only thing I'm looking forward to in this match is Bayley getting hit with the kendo stick and losing. Bayley sucks. I know that makes a lot of people upset and angry, but Bayley sucks. She sucks in the ring, she sucks on the mic, and she needs to go. Send her back to NXT for all I care. I hate her. Hopefully this is her last chance for the championship for a while. Let's get some new, fresh opponents in there for Alexa Bliss. The only thing that will get me interested in Bayley is if she turns heel. But that won't happen. So hopefully Alexa Bliss beats the hell out of her. And I predict Alexa Bliss will keep the championship and remain Raw Women's Champion after she pins Bayley. Onto the main event, the Extreme Rules Fatal 5-Way match. We've got Finn Balor vs Seth Rollins vs Samoa Joe vs Bray Wyatt vs Roman Reigns. This could be the hardest match to predict. Put it this way, I could see 3 or 4 men winning this match and facing Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire. I'm not even going to get into the name of that pay-per-view. That's a discussion for another time. I could see Seth vs Lesnar. I could see Balor vs Lesnar. I could see Wyatt vs Lesnar. But put it this way. The Universal Championship is in dire straits. It's in bad spot at the moment. Thanks to Lesnar's absence, it's made it look like a complete joke. I don't see Samoa Joe winning this match. I don't know why. I just don't see WWE going with him just yet. And I don't see Roman Reigns vs Brock Lesnar happening at Great Balls of Fire because they're saving that for WrestleMania 34. If that happens, that is a complete sick joke to make your fans watch that for the second time. It happened at WrestleMania 31. It got booed. The only thing that saved it was Seth Rollins cashing in. Why would you make your fans want it? They hate Reigns. They despise Reigns. Why keep shoving it down their throat? They don't want it. They don't want to see it. But yet, they keep doing it. They obviously don't care about their fans. They're just happy to take their money. Back on the match. I'm going to go with... I'll say Balor. I'll say Brock versus Finn Balor at Great Balls of Fire. And I just hope to God that Brock doesn't squash him in 5 minutes. But I've got Finn Balor winning via pinfall, and I'll say he pins Samoa Joe. There you go. Finn Balor pinning Samoa Joe to become the #1 contender for the Universal Championship. And there we have it. Another episode of Wrestling Talk Unleashed in the books. I apologize for getting angry and heated during some parts of today's episode, but hey, it's just because I'm a passionate fan. Hopefully you guys are passionate fans and you get angry when you see things you don't like. But thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you disagree with any of my thoughts or opinions, feel free to message me and we can debate about it. But I am your host, Nathan Weller, and thank you for listening to Wrestling Talk Unleashed.